of Mogadishu was destroyed in a few days. The ferocity of the troops was inflamed by cocktails of looted drugs in addition to the traditional cat, a mild narcotic leaf chewed by most Somalis.
We managed to open the casualty department on December the 10th in Digfa, and from then until now we have admitted nearly 8,000 casualties, half of whom have had to have major surgery, and many of whom have suffered as a result of infections. They've come in with broken legs, broken arms, artillery injuries that are very, very difficult to keep clean in this kind of environment.
As the fighting died down, a no-man's land was established across the city. Ali Mahdi ruled the north, Aidid the south. Indiscriminate shelling terrorized the civilian population.
General Aidid sent 3 bombs which struck the heart of the market, killing 10 people instantly and wounding 34 people. Most of these were women and children.
Systematic looting was rife. Even the street lighting cables were ripped up for the copper. Relief supplies were raided.
The beginning of 1992 was marked with care by having 8,000 tons of food looted from our warehouse at the port. This looting was followed by 3 months of inactivity whilst the ceasefire was being negotiated in Mogadishu.
With the docks under fire, the only access was through Mogadishu Airport in the south. This was exploited by the gunmen. Even the UN had to hire protection. The Red Cross policy of unloading across beaches from ships anchored up to a mile offshore worked. But the north needed an air link. The task fell to Alistair Dawson of UNICEF. Within 7 days, the first plane landed.
And UNICEF, we decided to build a new airstrip altogether, which is this one here. From the time we actually started constructing it, within 7 days we had our first King Air land here, at which time it was very narrow still, and not so long.
Wells were dug for the displaced people camping outside the city. At the beginning of March 1992, James Jonah, a top UN envoy, negotiated a ceasefire and peace corridor across the city. 2 days later, a UN relief convoy attempted the first run through the corridor.
There are sort of looters on the way, and this is what we're protecting ourselves against by having such a gunship in front of us, and also one traveling behind us. Armed guards are also based on top of the trucks as well, to try and keep a best security as possible and a deterrent from the looters. This is the big problem, is the looters are not the forces of either side. It's just the individual looters trying to get hold of the materials so they can sell it and get it onto the market and make money out of it. We're having to abandon the convoy and leaving Zainab to look after it. We're now having to head alone straight to President Ali Mahdi's house. As we gather, there is shelling coming from the north towards the port, and this is stopping the ship from being able to dock. I've suddenly realized we're passing through the corridor, going from south to north, and we don't even have an armed guard on board. This has got to be the first time as well. Roger, reading you. Just now, turn the corner. We're now heading down towards no man's land. Over.
Copy, that's fine, standing by. I understand the north face shelling is coming up from the south, over.
Roger, affirmative. The president is very, very disappointed in what is happening. He is very, very upset, and the shelling is certainly not coming from this side. Over.
Okay, understood.
The same day, a shipload of food was turned away when it was shelled. Profiteers, it seemed, were intent on keeping prices high.
For the UN will, but the port area was controlled by a third independent country.
UN 1 to base. Mobile 1 to base.
Coming, Mobile 1.
The trucks have satisfactorily arrived here at our north office. Over. That's a tremendous breakthrough for us to get the 3 trucks through. I'm very, very happy and pleased about that. This shows a way that we can start increasing it. Maybe tomorrow we can push it up to 4 or 5 trucks. I'm thrilled about it. It's wonderful.
To the south and west, the war continued, and in mid-April, Siad Barre attempted a counterattack.
Our plan to return to Mogadishu in order to bring it back to peace and security and justice and unity.
Securing an agreement with Ali Mahdi, Aidid met Barre's army at Afgoy, south of Mogadishu. Aidid won.
Abandoning his proclaimed beliefs, the defeated Barre went into exile.
And we will never go to excess.
Abandoning his principles, Barre went into exile. Population displacement was massive. Many fled to neighbouring Kenya and Ethiopia. International response was slow and inadequate. These people were reduced to eating boiled skins and lived in appalling conditions. There was little prospect of help. On the 3rd of May, the MV Felix, chartered by the World Food Programme, entered Mogadishu port.
It is our hope that this arrival of the ship will open up the port of Mogadishu, not only to supply Mogadishu, but to supply the whole of central and southern Somalia.
7,000 tons of wheat were unloaded in 5 days and distributed by the charity CARE to both sides of the divided city.
The distribution went well, and
Most of this food got to the needy, but some distribution centres were in the hands of black marketeers. An EEC team restored a temporary main water supply, and the UN organised the clearance of accumulated rubbish before the expected rains caused its decomposition. Outside Mogadishu, the combination of civil war and drought was causing a major famine, affecting up to 4 million people. In Bay Province, around Baidoa, hundreds were dying every week. Families were decimated. Many survivors were walking skeletons.
In Baidoa, the situation there is very, very bad. You walk out in the morning, it is absolutely no problem to see 10, 15 dead bodies lying around. Unfortunately, it costs money to bury these people. It costs the princely sum of $1 to bury a child in Baidoa, but that is beyond the means of most people. So they're just abandoning them in the hope that somebody else with a few bob in his pocket is going to be able to pay for people to take away the dead bodies and bury them properly. So we're finding people abandoned, buried, with no family, with no mourners, with no friends. Dreadful situation.
This little boy's mother had just died, leaving him alone in the world. This baby died in his mother's arms. The 500 lightly armed UN troops guarding the docks and airport were incapable of ensuring security elsewhere. Sporadic and inadequate convoys were escorted by hired local gunmen. A America's donation of 140,000 tons of food and giant transport aircraft allowed a sustained effort to control the situation.